Hi, Love Bug. Welcome to the Naked Yoga Podcast. This podcast is all about incorporating bits and pieces of yogic philosophy and spirituality into your everyday life. I'm your host, Nika Okoli, a graduate student at Columbia University's Spirituality Mind-Body Institute. I'm also a yoga and meditation instructor at a little studio called Core Power Yoga. You may have heard of it. My mission here is to help you nourish your mind, body, and spirit connection. Each podcast episode will begin with a guided meditation, followed by the core of the episode pairing a spiritual concept with science. Lastly, each episode will end with a mindful closure, providing you with actionable steps you can do after listening to deepen your mind, body, and spirit connection. So, without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. Hello. Welcome back to another episode. I am filming this quite late. It's like 11:30 at night, and I usually go to bed at like 10 o'clock, y'all, but I don't know. Lately, my sleep schedule has been very off, and I'm probably going to be up late anyway, so I might as well just hang out and talk to you guys, Why not? So I'm really excited to start today's episode because honestly, there's so much, not misinformation, but there's just so much information out there about spiritual awakenings. And so I was really excited to kind of dive into the research, the peer-reviewed, scientifically renowned researchers in the subject, because while I think a lot of the information out there is colorful, I always kind of want to see what academia is saying about it, because I just find it funny how there's some things that we can know innately with our inner knowing, and literally just being connected to our ancestors and to the earth, and kind of just understanding where we are in our spiritual journeys. And then it's always interesting to Google and just get those random websites that are covered in random ads, and they're at the end pay $99 for a free psychic reading. So I just thought it would be really good to get kind of both perspectives, or at least a more academic perspective. Oh, but I am rambling already. Okay. Still laughing at myself. Let's dive into this meditation. If you take my yoga classes, I teach at Core Power Yoga in New York City. I'm still New York City based right now, for hanging on for as long as I can. This is actually a meditation that you guys will be familiar with. It's one of my favorite ones to do, and it is highly influenced by Dr. Lisa Miller, and I just really love this meditation. I mean, it's not I've honestly put a lot of my own spin on it, but I do like to just honor and name things, because I feel in the content creation space, so many people are this is my original thought. And I'm as just a spiritual person, I'm I don't even believe in original thoughts. There's nothing new under the sun. We're all just being influenced by each other at all times. Oh my God, there's a beautiful Mary Oliver quote that's you with every person you interact with, you take a piece of them with you. I think that's Mary Oliver. I'm 95% sure it's Mary Oliver. And again, I am sidetracked. Let's get into this meditation. So wherever you are, begin to melt into your seat, into the earth, and just begin to kind of notice how your body moves as your life force energy, your pranayama, enters into your body with your inhale and exits your body with your exhale. We'll take 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. I invite you to relax. Soften your shoulders, soften your jaw. And if you feel comfortable, if it's possible, I invite you to close your eyes, or maybe just bring them to a soft gaze. And begin to envision your safe space. Whatever that might look like for you, it might look like your childhood bedroom, your favorite cafe, or maybe just a shady spot in your local park. What does the air smell like in your safe space? I invite you to take a look around and spot 3 beautiful things. Out of the corner of your eye, you see a red door with a golden doorknob. Begin to make your way to the door, and as you reach for the doorknob, feel the crispness of it in your hands. As you begin to turn the door, on the other side is a well-beaten path in the forest. Feel the earth as the leaves crunch underneath your feet. And as you walk through this path, I invite you once again to spot 3 beautiful things. As you come to the end of the path, you find a clearing with a beautiful tree right in the middle. Begin to make your way to this tree and take a nice, easy seat. Begin to feel the sun shining on your skin. And I invite you now to notice what the air smells like. As you make yourself comfortable, I invite you to ask your higher self and your higher power to join you underneath this tree. Take a moment. What does your higher power look like? A ray of light? What does your higher self look like? An older version of you? Or maybe a younger version of you? Are they patient? Are they kind? When you're ready, turn to your higher self and your higher power and ask the following. What is it that I need to know right now? How can I become more like you? What needs to shift in my life in order to move closer to my divine path? One more time. What is it that I need to know right now? How can I become more like you? What is it that needs to shift in my life in order to move closer to my divine path? I invite you to take a moment to pause the podcast, pull out a journal, and take some time to quietly reflect on these thoughts. I'll be here on the other side when you come back. Okay, welcome back. I am still so excited to talk about this topic today. So how do you know if you're having a spiritual awakening? Honestly, I feel like if you think you're having one, you probably are having one. But let's start with defining what is a spiritual awakening. So there's kind of 2 schools of thought of like what a spiritual awakening is. There's some yogic traditions that believe it's like a developmental milestone. So like once, like puberty, right? Like you go through puberty and now you are changed for the rest of your life. Versus there's other schools of thought that think that it's like a temporary state of enlightenment and then you come back down into your reality. So this is common with like shamanism, which, oh my goodness gracious. There is like a whole stack of literature about psychiatric episodes, or rather psychotic episodes, and shamanism. And I have to find that paper because that would be a really good episode. So remind me if you guys don't see that episode in the next couple of weeks. Like that's, oh my God, I read the most fascinating paper about that. Anyways, so second school of thought, they believe that like you're awakened spiritually for a short moment of time and then you come back down. That's like shamanism. Dr. Lisa Miller also kind of has that same form of thought, so I'll kind of go back into that a bit later. But first, because this is the Naked Yoga podcast, I thought we would talk about the Kundalini yogic tradition. And so in Kundalini yoga, a spiritually awakened person is referred to as like that developmental state. So like once you kind of reach that, you are now like a guru, like you are now always awakened. You're always on this like higher plane. And so they describe it as, well, the two researchers, Edwards and Woolacott, describe it as the innate power to know oneself as infinite consciousness is awakened. So essentially, knowing yourself inside of God and knowing God inside of yourself, that means you're awakened. So let's talk a little bit more about this study. So essentially, oh gosh, I didn't write down the methods. Are you guys nerdy like that? Like, do you guys kind of want to know? Essentially, they did a quantitative analysis on different gurus in the Kundalini tradition, and essentially just asked them a bunch of questions about their like mental states. And actually I have this all written down. Let me just read this. So in this study, the two researchers examined a population of those who had reached the awakened guru state and found, and I quote, a quieter mind with fewer thoughts, development of witness consciousness. So if you listen to our other episodes, that idea of bearing witness to your life instead of being like in control of your life. So let me go back. So a quieter mind with fewer thoughts, development of witness consciousness, a stronger, more disciplined mind, increased ability to focus and maintain focus, being less rigid and better able to adapt, being more conscious and less automatically influenced by the shifts in emotional moods and feelings, decreased identification with the body, the mind and its contents, and the mind becoming stronger, subtler, thus better able to sustain more expanded states of consciousness. I'm like, mic drop. Okay. So that is a lot of things. I will say though, like this is a questionnaire that the gurus were filling out. So it's hard to say. I love quantitative research, but I also think there's something that's so good about qual. But then there's also like, if you ask people all these questions and then that was their response, is it leading the witness? I don't know, but I digress. This study is truly kind of groundbreaking. It just came out actually in 2022. And I think it's really kind of like laying the foundation for more spiritual research in the yogic like space. Because honestly, like there's a whole like East versus West, and the West trying to kind of like capitalize off of everything, and also a huge like contingency between people saying like, you know, like yoga has helped heal my ancestral trauma, and people being like, you know, it's probably not possible. Like you should take the psychiatric medication. Like, I don't think you're healed because you did a downward facing dog, you know? And like, as someone who really embodies both, I can say like yoga has like saved my life. And I like 100% believe in its benefits. And as someone who does research as well, I see how people can be a little skeptical, including myself, because I'm like, how do you prove you feel better? Especially like so much of psychology is built on just like neuroses and problems and focusing on like fixing the people who are very maladapted to life, that there's not that much research on things that are really good for you and things that make you feel good. And like, it's all kind of new and it's all kind of coming out right now with the whole positive psychology movement and wave. But I said all that to say, people can agree, like on both sides, that having this awakened consciousness is protective against a whole host of negative psychological states. So if you have the time, like I would highly recommend reading the article. I mean, I'm also here on this podcast to kind of break down the paywall because I don't even know how much this article would be if I had to pay for it. Like definitely using my Columbia email address while I still have it. Let's move on. So how do you know if you are having a spiritual awakening? If you have reached guru status and whatever yogic tradition that you practice, then you're there. However, some of us are not on that divine path. And so I wanted to share a quote from Nancy Thayer. And the quote is, "The universe is always speaking to us, sending us little messages, causing coincidences, serendipities, causing us to stop, look around, believe in something else, and believe in something more." And I believe that simply by noticing these signs, that's the first step of having a spiritual awakening. So if you listen to the last episode, we talked a lot about synchronicities and how when you're kind of contemplating something on the inside, the universe will show it to you on the outside to help guide you and just to help you feel reassured, that you're not alone. One of the examples that I gave in the last episode was essentially, my professor dreaming that she had a miscarriage, and then the next day she had a miscarriage. And then there's a lot more of examples that she had in regards to her journey to become a mother, which is also something that I want to talk to you guys about on this podcast because I am doing my doula training. And if you don't know, Eneka, my name, means the importance of a mother, or a mother is supreme, or a mother supreme, depending on how you translate it into English. But I digress. By noticing these synchronicities, by noticing these coincidences, serendipities, whatever you want to call them, I believe that is a sign that you are on your way to walking your divine path and really having a spiritual awakening of your own. I also want to mention, and I chatted about this a bit in the last episode as well, but like angel numbers, insects, personal spiritual relationships that you have with these insects and with these angel numbers are also like signs and paths that you are on your spiritual journey and that you are kind of on the right path. Right now, I mean, I hate to talk about myself too much, but I guess I do that anyway because I have a podcast. One thing that really makes me feel like I am on the right path, I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to do and doing what God has planned for me, is that I see angel numbers like multiple times a day, every day. Sometimes I see them on license plates. I typically see them like on my computer or on my phone sometimes. And it was so crazy. I forget what I was thinking about, but like essentially the universe just told me yes. I was thinking about having a conversation with someone who I was kind of putting it off. Like, I honestly really didn't want to have the conversation because I was already annoyed. I was like, I feel like if anything, they should reach out to me to apologize or to clarify. And once again, in the words of my mother, you cannot expect everyone to act or to do what you would do. And so I was already annoyed. I was like, I do not want to have this conversation, but I think I need to. I was walking, and on the ground, like literally on the cement, was 333. I look up and like literally I walked like maybe like 4 or 5 paces. Like, I looked up, and across the street was on the like building was like 333. And at this point, I'm like from the 333 I saw on the sidewalk to the 333 that I saw on the building, it literally had been like probably like, I don't know, like maybe like a 3-minute difference. Now I say 3 minutes. Oh gosh. But yeah, like I just was like, oh God, like I guess. And then I looked up the meaning of the 333 angel number, and it had to do with communication. So I was like, like the universe is like, yes, you need to have the conversation. Yes, you need to have the conversation. And again, in case you didn't hear us the first time we gave you that 333, you need to have the conversation. I also just got a vision just now. Like, I also see them on subway cars a lot too. Like, I'll often see like 333 on subway cars. So yeah, that is a sign that you're having a spiritual awakening when you kind of have conversations with the universe. And the universe is kind of pushing you to do things that you don't want to do. But it all worked out in the end. So I want to transition now to a more secular and academic school of thought. So my mentor, Dr. Lisa Miller, refers to a spiritual awakening as 2 different states of consciousness. So the first state of consciousness is achieving awareness. And I'll just go ahead and read a quote from her now. So achieving awareness is the perception that our purpose is to organize and control our lives. Our foundational concern is, how can I get and keep what I want? I am going to repeat that. And our achieving awareness, our concern is, how can I get and keep what I want? And honestly, like, this is likely your default mode of being. Like, this is how we're bloop, 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 bloop. I'm tongue-tied and twisted. I'm going to take a breath. 1 second. Maybe I'm just a little delusional because it's like 11:56 at night. But honestly, this is probably like our primary mode of being raised in like a capitalistic society and Western society. It's all about like achieving and like making money and paying for this and driving this car and living in this building and a huge like wedding that no one can afford. Why are we going into debt over weddings? Like, it's not that serious, even though I do love a good wedding. Please invite me, but don't go into debt over it. It really isn't that serious. This like awakened or achieving awareness rather is often companioned with like an inner critic. So like that little voice in your head that's like, oh, like that's not perfect, do it again, or you're not good enough for this, or you're not good enough for that, or you know, that little person that's inside your head that's kind of motivating you, but they're using negative reinforcement. Like, they're motivating you, but it's not like your grandma talking to you. It's like your evil stepmother. So yeah, oftentimes our achieving awareness can kind of lead to states of anxiety and just like not feeling good in our skin, in our bodies, and just not feeling like we've ever accomplished enough, because in the rat race that is corporate America, there is always another hill to climb. However, we don't have to be like that 24/7. So to align with like a spiritual awakening, There's a second mode of consciousness called awakened awareness. So like being awake and aware and not in your achieving awareness. So your awakened awareness is, and I quote from Dr. Miller, when we engage in awakened awareness, we make use of different parts of our brain, and we literally see more, integrating information from multiple sources of perception. Instead of seeing ourselves as independent makers of our path, we perceive ourselves as seekers of our path. We look across a vast landscape and we ask, what is life showing me now? I'm going to say that again. We look across a vast landscape and we ask, what is life showing me now? This awakened awareness allows us to perceive more choices and opportunities available to us. We feel more connected with others, understand the relationships between events in our lives, be more open to creative leaps and insights, and feel more in tune with our life's purpose and meaning. That just makes my heart sing so much. Being in awakened awareness is a way to tap into your spiritual awakening, allowing yourself to become a benevolent, can I say that word? Benevolent? Yes. Observer of your life and developing your capacity to handle the ambiguity. Oh my God, can I say that word? Ambiguity. That comes with life as well. So I really, really love this definition of a spiritual awakening as well. I like that you kind of have those two different modes of consciousness, because I do not think I don't know, like if it was a developmental stage, I feel like that is really great for the gurus, but I don't know. I'm like, can I get there? I definitely feel like I'm getting there, but I feel like the two states of consciousness may be a little bit more attainable if you are new to this whole spirituality concept and you are open and like trying to just learn more. And so I really do like the awakened awareness because it allows us to not be spiritual gurus all the time. And it also allows us to kind of weave together like these different paths that we might be on. And honestly, it's just like the best. Like, it's so beautiful. We're able to just kind of like let go of what you want to happen. I have an awful habit of like ruminating, and I invite you to, over the next couple of weeks, kind of just like notice your thoughts. Like, what kind of thinker are you? Like, are you someone who thinks about the past a lot, or are you someone who thinks about the future? Or for you, is it like an even mix of both? I find like I'm a ruminator, and so like something will happen and I'll think about it and I'll think about it and I'll think about it. This is why I like to journal. So like I literally, like if I'm not journaling to my higher self, if I'm just doing like a Dear Diary, I will write down the exact detail of everything that happened, because sometimes I just need to get it out of my brain. And then I'll write down my feelings. And then as I continue to ruminate, I'll start thinking like, this is what I want to say to this person the next time I see them. And I swear to you, the way I will have like this whole script in my head, and then I literally never see the person again. It's like comical. It's like, how much brain power have I wasted ruminating? So I think just the awakened awareness practice of like, what is life showing me now, focusing on the present, being mindful, I think that's honestly like the first really good stepping stone if you are looking to facilitate your own spiritual awakening. I also really think like just keeping your eyes open for signs, for angel numbers, that's also a really good confirmation. I do feel like I'm at a place now where I'm just so happy. I feel like I see signs every day and I see signs everywhere. And I don't even think there was a time where the angels weren't speaking to me or when the universe wasn't speaking to me. I just was so focused on my achieving awareness. I'm like getting this job, doing this, doing that, and then being angry because like I didn't get the promotion that I wanted, or I don't know, like just random things. Like I would get so angry over like the littlest things. It was just so bad. And like I just had like, when you're like a horse with like blinders on, that is what achieving awareness is like to me. And so when I was focused on like advancing my career and like being the best, like I guess salesperson that I could be, which I don't even know why I was doing that in the first place. Like, I guess I just thought that you could make a lot of money doing that. Take some time to reevaluate your motivations, because while you're on your spiritual journey and having your spiritual awakening, there is going to be a huge shift in what is actually important to you. I can say with utter and complete confidence that between the ages of 20 and like 25, money was like the absolute most important thing to me. And I actually had a huge personal thing happen at 25, and the way my mindset just like completely shifted. That's when I got my yoga teacher certificate. That's when I applied to my spirituality mind body program. And now I'm here on the other side of it. Like literally from 25 onward, I have just been like a completely different person. Like right now, the most important thing to me is love and relationships, and like making space for like people to stay in my home if they need a place to stay, and making space to have the opportunity to like call my mother and to call my grandmother. Like even today I was talking to my friend and they just casually mentioned like they're on a trip with like their family for their birthday actually, and they casually mentioned their grandfather, and I was like, it hit me. I was like, oh my God. All my granddaddies are like on the spiritual plane. I don't even have any of them physically here with me anymore. And yeah, like things like what is important to you really, really shifts when you're having a spiritual awakening. And when you realize that, it's earth changing. Like now I'm starting to think maybe that developmental model isn't too far off, because I do feel like I am very much a completely different person from my 20s. And I definitely feel like I just value completely different things. I also would recommend, if you're trying to kind of navigate your own spiritual awakening, getting a gratitude journal. There's this concept, we should probably do an episode on this as well. I think a positive psychology episode is coming soon, girlies. There's this concept of the default mode network in your brain. And so some people are in their achieving awareness and defaultly wired to scan for the negative and to bring that to the forefront of their consciousness. And the very simple practice of a gratitude journal can redo your wiring. And so literally, like, you can switch that attitude to an attitude of gratitude just by writing down 3 things that you're grateful for each and every day. And honestly, you don't even have to get a gratitude journal. You don't have to spend money. This is capitalism. You can just take whatever notebook or whatever piece of paper you have, and when you wake up in the morning, write down three things that you're grateful for. And when you go to bed at night, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. If you do want to buy a gratitude journal, I would recommend, I'm like, which ones do I like? Right now I'm using the Joy Journal by Lavender. It's a small business, Asian-owned business. So if you want to support minority businesses, I would recommend. And I have also used the Intelligent Change Gratitude Journal. That one's really good. I think right now I enjoy the Lavender one a little bit more because there's more space for you to write more thoughts, because I'm often writing more than just 3 things. But if you're starting out, I think the Intelligent Change might be a good one for you because it's very short, very sweet, to the point. And we are rambling. I'm like Yeah. As I reflect on like my own spiritual journey, I definitely feel like it was kind of like a developmental consciousness for me, and things started shifting, and like money just was no longer important to me anymore. It really became all about love and my family and my relationships. Like that is absolutely the most important thing to me now. Yeah. Is there anything else that I wanted to chat with you guys about? I'm trying to think. I don't think so. Well, let me know if you guys have any questions about spiritual awakenings, or if you think you're having one now, or if you have any kind of like spiritual questions. You can always leave me a comment on my latest Instagram post. Once I graduate, I've just been so busy, but once I graduate, I want to show up on Instagram for you guys, like for real. I want to show up on YouTube again for you guys for real. I actually haven't posted a YouTube video in like 2 weeks, which is like insane for me. Like I don't remember the last time I missed this many uploads, but I had to get my IP done. I had to graduate and I still have a lot to do for like my internship, but that's going to be over soon. And this podcast episode is going to be over soon. So thank you all so much for listening, because I'm fully rambling now. For our mindful closure, I want to invite you to journal about your life as a benevolent witness. I keep using that word benevolent. I'm like, what's a simpler word? Honestly, like your higher power. Like view your life through the lens of your higher self and your higher power, and think of yourself as like maybe a co-creator in your life, because you can ask for things. You truly can manifest anything you want. I am 100% proof of that. And I also invite you to kind of map out your life and reimagine every perceived setback from your achievement awareness. So getting rejections from school, like relationships that you were interested in, like not working out, getting let go from a job or laid off, or not getting the job via an interview, like whatever it is, whatever that setback may be, view it as a redirection, protection that brought you to a greater outcome than you had ever even imagined for yourself, because that's just how good this life can be. That's how good the universe is. Like, honestly, I'll tell you guys a little bit about me. So before I got into Colombia, I was really kind of set on moving to London. If you didn't know this, I have been in New York for like 12 years now. At the time, I'd been in New York for a decade, and so I kind of felt like I think it's time for me to move. And I was really excited because I was shifting in my career. Previously, I was like working in sales and stuff, but I started doing more like diversity, equity, inclusion work, which I really loved. And my company was kind of gearing me up to move to London. And then suddenly they kind of pulled that rug from underneath me. And then they told me I had to move to Atlanta, which I was so annoyed with. But it was working more with people. It was a little bit more aligned, but it wasn't the exact title that I wanted. And honestly, my mom and my brother had moved to Atlanta at the time, so I was kind of curious. Like, I wasn't completely heartbroken, but it just wasn't London like I originally hoped. And then one day I got into Colombia. Like, I applied to this program. I did not think I was going to get in. I literally was working on my application for NYU when I got my acceptance to Colombia. And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't need this job. They were not trying to work with me. They wouldn't let me stay in New York. And I really wanted to be in person. I did not want to be a remote learner. I wanted to get the most out of this program. So I can tell you from my achievement awareness, I was devastated and angry and upset when the London thing didn't come through. I was less psyched about Atlanta, but I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I will settle for it. And then out of nowhere, the universe came and was like, nope, you're going to stay in New York and you're going to go to like literally a school that you never thought in a million years that you could get into. Guys, for my undergrad, I didn't even apply to Columbia because I didn't think I would get in. I applied to Barnard and I got waitlisted. And literally 10 years later, I graduated high school and started undergrad in 2012. 10 years later, 2022, I started at Columbia University. So I'm rambling once again, but that was our mindful closure. So reframe your life from those disappointments, from those rejections, from those failures, and create your new narrative, really highlighting the things that were beyond your wildest dreams, that were literally preceded by rejections and failures and all that not so fun stuff, because oftentimes that's kind of how the world works. There's also this really good theory in psychology. Well, it's not really a theory. Well, it is. Okay. Anyways, it's called like the regression principle. So oftentimes you'll see your patient making progress, and then suddenly they regress worse to where they were before. But they regress because they're about to shoot through their blocks and they're going to make it on the other side. Why are we talking about this? Okay, I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Naked Yoga Podcast. My name is Nika, and if you want more content from me, you can follow me on Instagram or subscribe to my YouTube channel at Nourish Nika. This is a completely independent podcast. Yes, I write the scripts, record, and edit the podcast all by myself. Therefore, any support you could give, like a share, a comment, maybe leaving a little review on Apple Podcast or wherever you might be listening, would go a very long way and warm my little itty bitty heart. Thank you so much once again for listening, my love bug. I will see you in the next episode.